Welcome to this evening's Muskogee Municipal Authority, August the 10th, 2015. Roll call.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Leanne Langston.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Regular agenda item number 1.
Consider approval of the Muskogee Municipal Authority minutes of July 13th, 2015.
Is there addition or correction to the minutes? If not, we entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MMA claims for the month ending July 31st, 2015.
Mr. Brown, any comment on claims?
No, these are just a list of the claims ending the month of July 31st, 2015.
Okay. Any discussion? Otherwise, entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Got a motion? Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed. Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. That concludes our agenda. We'll now move to the Muskogee City Council agenda for August 10, 2015. Invocation by Councilman Ivory Van, and join us in flag salute.
Bow our heads in a word of prayer, please. Our Heavenly Gracious Father, this evening, dear Lord, just thank you for all the wonderful blessings you've given us. And our Heavenly Father, we ask a special blessing upon Stephen Ezell to heal his body, dear Lord, and help him to make it back to us safe and sound, dear Lord. And just bless all the Muskogee citizens. And just, Lord, just thank you for all of what you give us, because we don't recognize how really blessed we are. And thank you, Lord, for letting me return home safely to Muskogee. And just keep us in your arms of protection. For we ask all these blessings in your name for your sake. Amen.
Amen.
Join us for the flag salute. Attention. Luke, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Present.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston. Here. Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Leanne Langston.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
We'll now consider 2 sets of minutes from July 27 regular session and August 4 special session. Is there additions or corrections? If not, entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. The consent agenda is there to be items number 1 through 7. Is there anything anyone would like to move to regular agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second regarding a consent agenda. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston. Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Regular agenda item number 8.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of an ordinance rezoning the property located on Cherokee Street between Kalamazoo and Lexington Avenue, more particularly described in the ordinance, from R5 Mobile Home District to I1 Light Industrial District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin, and we'll consider ourselves in a public hearing.
Mayor, members of the council, the applicant, J&J Trucking, is requesting approval to rezone 4 lots from the R5 Mobile Home District to the I1 Light Industrial District. The property is located on Cherokee Street between Lexington and Kalamazoo. The reason for the rezoning is to allow J&J Trucking to locate on the property. It's my understanding they're going to move from the current location to this site. Looking at the existing zoning and land use within the area, starting with the site itself. Currently, the site is zoned mobile home. There's a vacant building on the property, and the rest of it's undeveloped. North is zone C2, general commercial. There's a vacant building. South is zone mobile home. It's a location of Renfro Electric. East is zone mobile home, and there's a vacant commercial building and 2 single-family dwellings. All those properties abut B Street. And west across Cherokee Street is zoned light industrial, and it's the location of the old WP Milling and is vacant. But it's my understanding J&J Cherokee has also bought a portion of that property too. If you look at the land use map, it does indicate light industrial along the Union Pacific Railroad corridor. You can see the railroad tracks. The purple is the light industrial classification. This request complies with the land use map and comprehensive plan, and it's been recommended for approval by staff, planning commission, and public works committee. Be glad to answer any questions.
Questions or comments?
Move the approval.
Second.
We need to close the public hearing first, then we can do that.
Sorry.
Danny, let me get you to restate the motion.
Move for approval.
I got a motion for approval. Do we get a second?
Second.
We got a second. Is there discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson. Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed. Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 9.
Hold a public hearing to consider approval of an ordinance amending the Muskogee City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 90, zoning regulations, Article 8, residential districts, Article 12, on-site development standards, Article 18, definitions by amending Section 90-08-04, residential district design standards, Section 90-12-04D, detached garages, Section 90-18-04, definitions, providing for codification, repealer, severability, or take other necessary action.
We'll now open a public hearing. Mr. Garvin.
Mayor, members of the council, just to give you a quick background, back in September 2014, City Council adopted the new zoning regulations. Those regulations contain some building design standards. In January 2015, City Council asked that Planning Commission go back and review those standards, but more particularly the definition of stucco and other building materials and the use of metal, which Planning Commission did. And they made a recommendation for an amendment and submitted that to Council. At the Council meeting on April the 13th, 2015, Council tabled that amendment and asked that a task force be developed to review the building design standards. There was a committee put together, consisted of 9 members. You can see the list of members who served on the task force. They looked at everything from the design and installation standards to what impact it would have on insurance rates and appraised values. They also did a survey. One of the task force members was at the Public Works meeting. He went over the survey. He's not here tonight, but I do have the information on the survey if you'd like me to go over it at the end of this presentation. As far as insurance rates, the insurance companies that they talked to stated that if metal is installed and it's a certain thickness, 26 gauge, or a Class 4 rating, you could actually get a reduction on your insurance premium. As far as appraised values, the appraisers that the task force committee talked to said the metal roofs would not have an impact on the appraised values. It would not increase it or decrease the appraised value. This committee met several times over the past few months, and they are recommending the following, which they're asking for to add subsection G to section 900804 residential design standards, which states metal roofs within residential districts other than metal tile, metal shakes, or metal shingles shall comply with the following design standards. There is an exception. The exception is if the property is zoned agricultural, residential agricultural, or mobile home. They're exempt from these requirements. States that the metal panel shall overhang the roof a minimum of 1 inch and a maximum of 3. That the metal roof shall be trimmed properly, and that will include the rip and hip caps, the valley flashings, the gable and eave trims, or guttering. They've also specified the thickness of metal, stated that it need to be 26 gauge or a Class 4 rating. Some of the 29 gauge metal can meet the requirement of the Class 4 rating. And the reason why they went with this is because that's when you get the insurance reduction if it meets this requirement. Also stated that the metal panels has to be attached with screws or fasteners in accordance with the manufacturer specifications. You cannot use nails, and the color of the screws have to match the color of the metal. Metal panels shall not be installed on roofs with pitch less than a 112. And the color of the roof shall be the same color throughout the roof. Same way with the trim. All the trim shall be the same color. So if the roof and the trim's not the same, you can have a maximum of 2 colors. The roof one color, the trim another color. The next change was a revision made to Section 901204 on-site development standards. What they did is specified the size that an accessory building can be and stated that it can be no larger than 40% of the principal building. So they've made a requirement on the maximum size of accessory buildings. Also stated that detached structures shall have a hip or gable roof, minimum of 312 pitch, and a maximum 1 foot overhang finished with soffit material. In addition to those requirements, if the accessory building is larger than 120 square feet and has metal on the exterior, the walls of the structure, there are some additional design standards that it has to comply with. Again, if it's zoned A agricultural, RA residential agricultural, or R5 mobile home, they are exempt. Also, if it's a carport that's open on 3 sides or more, they are exempt from these additional requirements. Sidewalls shall not exceed the height of 10 feet, measured from the grade to the top of the wall. Garage doors shall not exceed 9 feet in height. And they specified the 26 gauge or the Class 4 rating. And the next revision was dealing with the definitions. There was definitions added. They come up with definitions for all the prohibited and permitted material within the commercial district, Article 9. There's 16 definitions. There's a copy of the definitions. The full definition was included in the ordinance, which is also part of your packet. The only change from when Planning Commission submitted this the last time was added a definition for standing seam metal, and on stucco they reduced the thickness. Everything else was the same. I'd be glad to answer any questions, or I'd be glad to go over the survey if you want me to. Otherwise, this was recommended for approval by staff, the Task Force Committee, Planning Commission, and Public Works Committee.
Okay, is anybody interested in seeing the survey information again? Nope, we're good with that. We have someone who's Jeff Bonebrake had signed up to speak to this item. If you would approach the microphone, give us your name and your address, sir, and you have 5 minutes to give us information.
All righty. Jeff Bonebrake with Morton Buildings at 4021 Old Shawnee Road here in Muskogee. And I was on the committee, and I just wanted to say I appreciate you taking the time to listen to our input and our opinion. But what we did was we kind of developed a goal to have a compromise between what we were looking at was a ban on the metal roofing and metal buildings in most of the zoning areas, and the lack of restrictions that there were in previous years. And part of that goal was to create a code that is practical.
Could you raise that mic up?
Sure. Part of that goal was to create a building code that is practical and easily enforceable. I think that's something that we kept in mind throughout our meetings, was something that's going to be easy for the zoning committee to enforce building codes. We kept it reasonably strict, but at the same time without putting without putting the cost of metal buildings or roofing out of reach. I think is of most people. The way it was going before, it was the cost would have been out of reach probably of most people in Muskogee. But with these codes, our goal was to keep it reasonably strict, but within reach of most people. We were a group of contractors, building owners, local contractors in Muskogee. But I think that was a good thing in that it let us bring a practical knowledge of the construction, the details to the table, and that helped us write that code. If anything, the code errs towards the strict side, and I think part of that was because we were concerned. We wanted to give you something that you could enforce. We were concerned about there being a complete ban, so we did err towards the strict side. We addressed quality standards as well as aesthetic standards in the roofing and the buildings. And part of some of the things that Gary mentioned, We looked at when we specified thickness of metal or type of paint, that's what would be considered the upper echelon of paint type and thickness, and we picked those because they're less likely to dent, they're more easy to insure, they don't fade. And it's widely, understood in the industry that those are that type of standards. For the buildings, we talked about a lot of different things there, and it's tough to write a code for buildings for aesthetic standards, but I think we came up with some compromises there. Some of the things that are commonly, commonly noticed by most people in buildings are the boxed eaves, the overhangs with soffit, and we specified that a metal building in particular has to have that finished boxed soffit look to it. It can't have a very flat roof pitch. Those are some of the things that the people on that committee generally regarded as the most noticeable things when you're looking at a metal building. We also addressed the maximum size and height requirements, and that's become an issue as of lately. A lot of things have been mentioned about the big blue building built on Honor Heights Drive, and with this code, that building would not be allowed to be built. It would have been restricted in size to a much smaller building. We couldn't come up with a good way to limit the color, or other than with the roofing to say the color has to be continuous throughout. But the fact of the matter is, without an architectural committee approving every building or roof that goes up, you can't control the color of building. But we can control the size, the height, the proportions of that building on the property, the roof pitch, and those aesthetic standards. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to us and to hear the input of local contractors and business owners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jeff is the only person that had signed up to speak to this item, so we will now close the public hearing. Does council have comments or discussion?
I've got one question, Gary, and again, since I just see bits and pieces of this, on the 901204D2, it says on H that the detached structure shall have a hip or gable roof with 312 and a minimum of 1 foot overhang. Now I see at Orscheln's and Lowe's and several of these places they have these small, basically for a lawnmower. Now, are they exempt from this, or do they need?
Less than 120 square feet is exempt. You can go to Lowe's and buy one.
Okay,
and
now
put it on
where is that in this ordinance?
that
Is it in a different spot? Or
Is that in the building code, international building code?
hang on a second, let me.
and the reason I ask is I just picked up my packet today, so I really didn't have time to research it real heavy.
Basically, this section should cover it, and we made some changes to it, so I might need to have the attorney look at it to verify it. But basically, the way it was before, if it was 120 square feet or less, it didn't have to comply. And I may need to reword it, but I think it's where it states it.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't see that in this section. I thought, well, I better make sure it's in that same piece.
Because we wanted to be able to go out to Lowe's and buy one, but we wanted to keep it, again,
Okay.
to a certain size.
When I saw that 1 foot overhang, it's like, oh, that wipes out a lot of those little Ford ones. Thank you.
Other discussion or comments?
I just want to say thank you to the committee again. They did a great job.
Agreed. Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Garvin, I just had a couple of questions. The metal roof and the trim can be two separate colors?
Yes.
They
you
can
have
be two separate
maximum
colors.
two, but the entire
Okay.
roof has to be one, the entire trim has to
It
be
has to
one.
be another color. And 40%, as far as the accessory buildings, we're talking about 40% of the building, not the property.
40% of the principal building.
Okay, the principal building.
Yes.
And then the metal carport, well, I'm saying carport. The carport can be 3 sides open. It could still be a metal carport.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's exempt from those additional requirements too, as far as the height and everything.
Okay.
On the open carports.
All right. Thank you.
Additional comments or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 10.
Consider approval of authorizing Global Spectrum LP, doing business as Spectra Venue Management, as agent on behalf of the City of Muskogee to enter into an agreement with Paciolan LLC, doing business as Spectra Ticketing and Fan Engagement, to provide hardware, software, and services related to event ticketing at the Civic Center, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Root, is that right? Paciola?
Excuse me?
Is that the correct pronunciation?
Paciolan?
Paciola?
I don't know if that's a Muskogee pronunciation or not.
Not one I'm
Mr.
used to.
Mayor. But we'll go with that for this evening. Mayor, Council, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I'm going to have Matt come up here and talk about this. This is a separate contract. There's no financial impact here, but it was we wanted to do the ticketing system a little differently, and this is a really important issue because of the information we did not have previously on who was at the venue, when, where, how, where'd they come from, and all that. We'll be getting all that information through this system. So Matt's going to explain why this is a separate contract.
Mayor, members of council, this matter comes before you tonight because during the transition to Spectra management of the Civic Center, we did understand that there would be certain necessary upgrades and additions to the current Civic Center operations. Spectra has indicated the need to go to an automated ticketing system to allow them to more efficiently use and produce programs at the Civic Center. This contract allows them to act as an agent on behalf of the city to enter into the contract, thus requiring your approval. It will cost approximately $24,000 plus a percentage of ticket fees, which is already taken into account into the original Spectra budget. Therefore, they are not requesting any supplemental appropriations to fund this contract. This is more a formality based on the fact that they're entering as our agent and not on their own behalf. Therefore, it is our contract. I've spoken to the management of Spectrum, and I've spoken to Mr. Root regarding this contract, and I do believe it is appropriate for us to approve it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have the management of the Civic Center here if you have any questions that they could answer as well.
Yeah, Matt.
Yes, sir.
The Lee Bryce concert that's been talked about, I guess this is for Don or Kellen maybe more so than Matt, but the Lee Bryce concert that's going to take place in the next month or two, will this technology be in place so we can track those kinds of things?
Yes.
Okay.
The ticketing for the Lee Bryce concert specifically has already been in place, and we're using the system.
Okay.
We're not, however, using it through our venue. All the ticketing is being handled through Enid Event Center at this point. Now, as soon as our ticketing gets through and we have the infrastructure in place, all that will transfer over to us before the concert actually takes place.
Other questions or comments?
Move for approval.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 11.
Receive update on capital improvements at the Muskogee Police Department firing range.
Yep.
Mr. Brown.
Yep. Mayor and council, I guess several months ago, the mayor and I met with a representative from the CLEAT Academy, which is like the accreditation agency for law enforcement officers across the state. And so what we're trying to do is just provide a comprehensive update. There's been a lot of moving pieces. There's been some delay, with this project, and I want to get staff to give me like an update on where we're at, and so we can ask questions and that type of thing.
Prague has actually put a report together for you and is going to come up. Him and Jim Wixom have both been working diligently with Mr. Wardor, and Prague's got a report for you.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, good evening. And as Mr. Brown stated and Mr. Mike Stewart stated, that we have been working with the Muskogee Police Department. I have Chief Escourage and Officer Warder out here. When we first went to the site, we were thinking that we'll have to do a parking lot. That was one of the requirements which the CLEAT Academy had mentioned to our police department out here.
You're on. It's just not very loud.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce, can we get more volume at this mic?
All right. I hope so. I was. Oh.
I can hear it ringing back now.
I hope so.
There we go.
Okay. Let me recap. We had started on this project in June, and we had a budget. We had made. We got a budget. I'll just start with this. As I go on the slides, I will reach the budget also. What I wanted to show you out here is that the first improvement which we did, which the police department's volunteers did, was the fencing that you see. It's straight and nice, neat. The second one was the parking lot. You can see when we started it, and the one which is the finished product. We just need to put the blacktop on it, which we want to finish all our drainage work as well as the aerobic septic system there. We have finished laying down the water line. So once all those things are done, that will be one of the last things which we will complete on this project. This is the other part of the fence, which has not only made the range safe for the people training there, but it will also keep the cattle which are on the other part of this of the property of entering into the range. And this is the road which we have regraded, and we have put in about at least 700 tons of aggregate in there. This is the survey we got a survey done, and we basically realigned and regraded the whole road. This is our budget, which I think you which we had passed this along. As you see, the line item number 1, survey and staking out, we have completed that. The access road, the drainage alignment, we have just put in one of the culverts in there, but the other two, for the other 2 culverts, what we have done, we have the material which is on site, and as soon as we get our equipment there, we will be starting to work on those ditches. And as you see, the asphalt parking lot is there, which will be the last thing which we'll put in there. Item number 3, which is the sanitary sewer aerobic system with permit. ODQ has the permit application in their possession, and I spoke to Ms. Beal from Beal Excavation this afternoon, and she said that they are tentatively planning to install by August 15th, which is a Friday, weather permitting. That's what I was basically told. If the weather permits, they should have it by August 15th in ground. And on the other item, item 4, I think the work on the berms is completed. Item 5, the water service connection. We laid down the pipe there. Pipe is in ground. The final connections will only be made once the aerobic septic system is in place. The rural water district will not connect to our system if we don't have the septic system in place. They want to have the disposal in first before they can connect. Next one is the electrical service. Yeah, whenever it's needed, we have electricians there through the police department. They have been working with Justin on that. The barbed wire fence on both sides of the road, that'll be another thing which we will wait, which will commence only after we have finished the bar ditches and the drainage, which I hope we can finish by the end of next week. Again, weather permitting, that should be something which we should be able to finish. Exterior lighting and security, we don't have anything on that. Shooting simulator is something which the police department is working on. Storage building is already in there. All the other things are basically which are in place for them to start their academy. On our side, what we have done is this is what we are looking at to complete by next week. Regrading and other associated dirt work and the parking lot, I would say 80% complete, because I still have to do the ditches and I have to install the culverts in there. I still have to shoot the oil, and I still have to do the blacktop on that. The water line, I'm saying 80% complete because it has been laid down. 1,500 feet of line has been laid, and the only thing which is remaining is the connections to the 2 ends. The aerobic system, as I mentioned, ODQ approvals are in process. And as per contractor, tentative installation is planned for Friday, August 15, 2015. Weather permitting, plumbing connections, as we said, once water supply is established, the final hookups will commence. Electrical is ongoing as needed. That's all I have for today. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Would you say the ditch work on regrading was next week?
We are thinking of doing it next week.
Okay.
I would say thinking because there are certain things which we're not able to control on this side, sir.
Right.
Well, whatever we can do to speed this project up, guys.
We'll do that, Mr.
You know,
Brown.
we need to do that. I mean, we've made some assertions to CLEAT and their representatives, and it'd be nice if we can expedite as fast as we can. Okay?
And when is the actual completion date expected?
I will not be able to answer that, Mr. Coleman, not right now.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I will not be able to answer that right now.
Are you estimated completion date?
Estimated completion dates, sir, that's what we are looking at. Again, I said about there are certain other moving parts. Are you talking about just our part, or there's other things which...
Are you talking about
I want to know when it's going to be up and running.
Yeah, so total
and that
What's
way
the estimated date that it'll be up and running?
I will defer to Chief Escourage if he can help us out on that.
Okay.
Because on our side, we would try to complete it within the next 2 weeks.
So,
weather permitting again.
So if you're done in 2 weeks, that's when it will actually be ready for use. That's what I'm trying to...
That's
when can someone walk right on and
Councilman
use it?
Coleman, there are certain things. Yes, I'll say that our part we'll try to finish in the next 2 weeks.
Public Works part.
Is there something that...
No, there's no public works. This is the city. We want to work. We want to work together.
Is there a way that it can speed up more employees out there trying to help out? Because I know they're on a time basis here to get this completed. I mean, it's kind of like an all hands on deck thing going on. I don't know.
Let me help you out. We're throwing all the resource that we can at this time, at this project. One of the problems we've had is we've had some equipment failure. That's now up and running. Once that grade all gets on site, that drainage work will go quick. That grade all picks that dirt up rather quickly. But it just got out of the shop. We're not sure it's going to stay running. That's things we've got to work through. But we're throwing all the resource that we have with all the other projects and problems that we have right now. We're putting all the resource we can to this project. We understand the necessity. The manager's made that very clear, and we're doing our best to get that accomplished for you.
Okay.
I was just curious about a date.
Chief Eskridge.
The actual date, the first date that they're supposed to be out there is on September the what? 10th is the first date that they go out to the range. We have some issues that we have to work on with the turning targets, but we should have those completed by no later than the end of August at the latest. Our main concern is the road and the parking and the water. And once we get those, then we should be operational and getting the targets in place and getting the equipment that we need. We found that some of the repair to the targets exceeded what we had estimated, so we've had to increase our efforts in getting the targets fixed. But everything should be in place, and we should be ready and in place by the time they're ready to start shooting out there, which is September the 10th. Any questions?
Questions or comments? We appreciate the update. Mr. Wardor, do you have any comments to add? Okay. Thank you all for moving this project ahead. Okay, we have two people that have signed up to speak. Christian Tackett, you had signed up to speak, sir, and you have 3 minutes. If you'd give us your name and your address when you approach the microphone, we'll be ready to hear you.
My name is Christian Tackett. I live at 35472 East 231st Street, South Porter, Oklahoma. Now currently in Muskogee. My topic is equality for Muskogee. I, Christian Tackett, see a great concerning problem for the support of Muskogee. Understanding unlawful behavior such as hate crimes, untaken action to stop the hurt of innocents, unknown that these words are being put into action, using the words gay, fag, homo, meaning that we're downing a human being who has feelings, just like every American, me, you, in the U.S. today. Freedom is not what it was 10 years ago. It's not more understanding than what it was now, okay? Sorry about that, I need to recap. My eyes. Let's see. Causing these actions that are taking an unlawful behavior of self-harm, unsafe drug use, self-abuse. Equality groups are seeked and needed to prevent self-harm. Centers to help cope with problems are needed as a granted request for Muskogee. Ages 16 plus are welcome, are Mondays through Saturdays, depending on what seeks best. I'm blind. I see great futures for the city of Muskogee and the LGBT community, such as making friendly relationships, food pantries, clothing closets, informational help. Thank you for listening to me. Any questions, concerns, and comments, please speak upon.
All right. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Tackett? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate your input. Ivory Van, you had signed up to speak, sir. Do we need any instruction? Name, address.
Ivory Van, 911 Holden, Muskogee, Oklahoma. I just come up here tonight to thank everyone that came out to our groundbreaking for Housing Plus. Thank Ms. Hart, and also like to thank Sean Raper. He didn't come, but he didn't know anything about it. And would like to thank Councilman Reed and Ward 4. These houses in 3, and his apartments, the condos are in Ward 4. And I'd like to thank Sean Raper for meeting with us when this project first began, because those are his apartment buildings that they're fixing up. Another thing I'd like to bring your attention tonight is tomorrow is voting for the liquor to be sold on Sunday. As a citizen, as a councilman, I'm totally against it, because I grew up in an environment like under alcohol, and I know what alcohol can do. Alcohol, selling it on Sundays, people can buy this alcohol on Saturday nights and drink it on Sundays at their homes. I don't think we need it. I'd rather put safety before money in economic development, because a lot of times people get drunk, they go out and drive, they get in the car and put the keys in and drive, and that right there will cause problems. And I'd hate for one of my children to be run over by a drunk driver. And I just don't think, and also on my Christian values, I'm totally against it also on that. So tomorrow at 7 o'clock or after 7 or 7:30, I hope it's a no vote. And that's just how I feel. And I just want the council to know that. And I was the only one that voted against this Sunday drinking, because I can't see where it's going to boost our economy that well. And also, you say people go to Tulsa and drink. That's bad when they got to go to Tulsa and drink and then come back on the highway to come to Muskogee. That's putting our also safety at risk. So it's all about safety to me, and it's also about, like I said, you got to get up on Monday morning and go to work. You want to go to work sober. And a lot of times people that drink the night before have a hangover, and they can't do any work on Mondays because they're still trying to get over that hangover. So that's just my 2 cents on it, and I just hope it goes tomorrow night. A no vote.
Thank you, sir. We'll now consider an executive session, item number 12.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of Stacy McGee, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the employment, terms, hiring, appointment, demotion, disciplining, resignation, or termination of City Manager Howard Brown, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. C, pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider consider convening an executive session to discuss the employment terms, hiring, appointment, demotions, disciplining, resignation, or termination of City Clerk Pam Bates, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. D, pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the employment terms, hiring, appointment, demotion, disciplining, resignation, or termination of the City Attorney Roy Tucker, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Now entertain a motion.
Move we go into executive session.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
No.
Wayne Johnson.
No.
Leanne Langston.
No.
Ivory Van.
No.
Derek Reed.
No.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. How are our votes? What does our vote count?
I'm sorry, May I have the no votes again, please?
It's 5 to 4.
3, 4, 5. Okay. Mr. Tucker, what do we do at that point?
There's no executive
No
session.
executive session. Okay. That concludes our agenda for this evening, and thanks for being at their meeting. Thank you.